What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC Moveset Guide video. Today, we're going to be talking about something that popped up quite a bit at Fort Wayne and honestly is a really good meta call. That Pokemon being Gyarados, specifically a support Gyarados that is really cool and something I saw pop up on Showdown and was really hoping I wouldn't run into at Fort Wayne, but it was there and it was there in force. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this in the future, but let's get into it. So Gyarados is a Pokemon that actually makes a lot of sense when you consider what the meta is shaping up to be. You're seeing a lot of Tinglu run around, Chi-Yu's running around an awful lot, and this Pokemon can set Intimidate while also being able to deal with a Mungus very effectively. It's just a really solid counter to a lot of stuff that is currently popping up. Obviously, you do have to be aware of the Kingambits running around. Kingambit is still very popular, still very good, but this Pokemon just plays really well. It's essentially just an alternate version of Arcanine. If you want extra water damage, and maybe you don't have that on your team, don't want to run Palafin, maybe Palafin doesn't fit, Bundle doesn't fit, things of that nature, you could definitely think about rotating in a Gyarados and have a lot of success with it. So the reason I say it is similar to Arcanine is because you're playing it in a similar fashion. Like, you're there to set it as an Intimidate center and kind of support the Pokemon around it. And it just kind of plays the same role, and its stats are similar enough that you could pretty much build it a similar way. Just invest a little bit more in defense, and then give it a little more special defense and give it a citrus berry, because you don't really have to worry about safety goggles, considering the fact that, you know, this Pokemon can just taunt a Mungus, which is absolutely crazy. So the set that I saw the most running around was a Waterfall, Ice Fang, Thunder Wave, and Taunt set. Occasionally you'd see things like Iron Head. I even saw a Whirlpool pop up, which was really interesting. So there's a handful of different moves you can run as your fourth move, but typically you're seeing Waterfall, Thunder Wave, and Taunt because you're able to gain speed control through Thunder Wave. You're able to mitigate, you know, like a Mungus and things of that nature with Taunt. There's a lot that you could do here. You can also prevent Trick Rooms with this, which is really solid. So all around, I think it's a really solid bring. The typings that you're seeing in terms of Terra can vary. I think most commonly you're probably going to see something like Flying because it works really well with like Earthquake users. Flying makes a lot of sense also because it prevents Tinglu from really doing anything to you, which is really solid. But I could definitely see a case to be made for like Ghost to prevent like fake outs and things of that nature. So I definitely think that currently Flying just seems to be the Terra type of choice for this particular Pokemon, but that is definitely going to kind of evolve as the meta shifts. I definitely think that this Pokemon is just going to keep popping up because it's just really good right now. Now, specifically, I think we should start with talking about the Pokemon that this just kind of plays super well into. The first and foremost being a Mungus. A Mungus just does not deal with this Pokemon all that well at all. It really doesn't, because like, what does a Mungus do outside of Spore and Side Pollen Puff? Like, sure, it can just keep Side Pollen Puffing, but if you have a powerful Pokemon next to it, you can handle the partner Pokemon, just taunt a Mungus, and then this really doesn't do anything. You can just keep ignoring it, essentially, which is really solid. You can also go for Thunder Wave into it after the taunt, and then it just kind of like mitigates the chances of them actually being able to land their Pollen Puffs, which is crazy. So you could just kind of shut down an Amoonguss entirely with this Pokemon alone, and I think it's incredibly strong for that reason. Other Pokemon, obviously Tinglu was showing up quite a bit at Fort Wayne. So this makes a lot of sense when you consider, you know, you go in, you intimidate Tinglu, you can't be hit by a Fissure, you can't be hit by a Stomping Tantrum. Really, all this Pokemon's going to do to Gyarados is maybe hit it with a Ruination, and you can just Waterfall it and do damage that way. So a lot of really good options there in terms of dealing with Tinglu. Chi-Yu is a similar scenario where you can kind of go in and just do big damage to a Chi-Yu. It's just very weak defensively, so going in with a Gyarados and being able to smack it is really good. But other Pokemon in general that just are kind of annoyed by it, you have things like Excalibur that was popping up. Obviously, Intimidate on Excalibur is fantastic. Scizor's popping up here and there. Being able to intimidate a Scizor is really good. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon that just don't want to be intimidated right now. Obviously, the big thing is Kingambit you need to watch for, because Defiant Kingambit is still running around a lot, and it's very good. So being able to be aware of that and just not proc Defiant for it with Gyarados is something you need to be aware of. Partner Pokemon for this that make a lot of sense. I've seen this run a lot with Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu makes sense because, you know, if you get hit by a water type attack, it's no fun. You can rotate in Gyarados, take the hit, and not have to worry about it too much. It just kind of works. It just makes sense next to a Chi-Yu, and then you can have like Fluttermain as well. Really solid core here. For being able to just kind of rotate and take hits for one another. good group of Pokemon to pair, but she used one that I definitely see popping up a lot with Gyarados. Another one I've actually seen a fair bit is Glamora, which makes sense when you consider that you could just kind of set Glamora out there on the field, intimidate whatever's in front of you, and just kind of use Glamora to start poisoning stuff, get your toxic debris down, things like that. And corrosion is actually popping up a bit as well, which I think is really solid. Because you're able to poison stuff regardless of the typing, which makes a lot of really like powerful chip damage effects go in, and I think that's a really solid option in terms of playing Glamora right now, is just being able to poison anything regardless of what's available. Having your own Kingambit makes a lot of sense when you consider that you can basically, Gyarados still does a lot of damage with a base 125 attack stat. It's something that wants to get intimidated, right? You want to be able to intimidate that Pokemon and kind of lower its chances of doing damage to you. So being able to have a Kingambit there to kind of deter that makes a lot of sense when you set them next to one another. Very powerful combination of Pokemon, especially, if Kingambit's usually fairly slow, you can go ahead and just Assurance stuff and just let Gyarados kind of do its thing, taunt, Thunder Wave, all that. It plays very, very well together. Then you also have to think about Earthquake users. I think Earthquake is still incredibly powerful. We saw like Wolf Glick use it. We saw, I think it was on Joseph Ugarte's team as well. But Garchomp with Earthquake is just incredibly solid still. And having something like Gyarados next to it that doesn't get hit by that is very, very powerful. So I definitely think that Garchomp is really good. And again, if you think about Garchomp, you can pair it next to a Talonflame, kind of do like the Talon Tusk combination, but just Garchomp instead of Great Tusk. And then you're able to kind of just set Gyarados out and take a hit for Talonflame. Really solid combination there. Now, in terms of Pokemon that you do have to be aware of when running Gyarados are opposing Glamoras. Glamora can actually be very problematic because it seems to be running a lot of Terra Grass lately. And being able to hit a Gyarados with a Power Gem is very, very scary. Another Pokemon right now is Fluttermain, because a lot of Fluttermains are running like Booster Energy or Choice Specs, and they're actually opting to bring in Thunderbolt as their final move, because if you consider the fact that there's not a lot of electric types running around right now, you need to have something that is able to deal with the water types that are super prevalent, looking at like Palafin, Bundle, Gyarados. So having Thunderbolt on Fluttermain is extremely powerful when playing into something like a Gyarados. So it makes a lot of sense to be very wary of a Fluttermain currently in the metagame. Another one is Wo-Chien, actually, because Tablets of Ruin is weakening Gyarados, and there's not a whole lot that Gyarados can actually do to a Wo-Chien. Obviously, you can taunt it, but like in terms of damage, you can't really do anything to it. So really, you're just there to Thunder Wave it and taunt it. So they kind of play into each other decently, but Wo-Chien does cause some problems for Gyarados for sure. I think the Chien-Pao and Dragonite combo can also be kind of problematic for Gyarados, because you're weakening the Gyarados defenses, especially if you're running like a Terra Normal Extreme Speed Dragonite set. You're able to pretty much deal with Gyarados like really, really quickly. And Gyarados has some real issues with dealing with the damage that these two can put out. So it's definitely something to be very concerned about when leading your Gyarados. You can get the Intimidate off, but those Pokemon are still going to be able to do pretty significant damage to you very quickly. All in all, I think Gyarados is a really fun new meta pick right now that's popping up. I think it's definitely going to see a lot more use. I think the next tournament is EUIC, and I think we have another weekend before that. We have about 2 weeks till the next tournament, so I'm definitely curious to see how many Gyarados actually pop up, but I definitely think that it's a Pokemon that we're going to see a lot more just because it fits this metagame so well currently. I think it's just a really fun Pokemon. I'm glad to see Gyarados make a return. We saw some of it in Series 1, not a ton of it, but it's definitely cool to see it make its way back into the meta with things like Tinglu, Arcanine, all those things that just don't really like dealing with it popping up so frequently, especially with the way it plays into Mungus. Mungus is incredibly popular right now. I don't think Mungus is ever going to stop being incredibly popular, so being able to deal with something as annoying as an Mungus so effectively is very, very nice. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Leave a comment below on your thoughts on Gyarados, and check out the Discord where people over there hanging out playing Pokemon all the time. And if you want to see anything else from me, check out these videos where I use my actual Fort Wayne team on the ladder. Had a couple fun battles with that. Also check out any of these other videos. I think I had like a Scizor guide that came out while I was in Fort Wayne. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff I pre-recorded prior to leaving that I don't know the order it came out in, so I'm just going to say check out those other videos. But until next time, peace.